Day 3, let's get into it because I'm excited to see what happens. Chapter 7, Maggie. I'm in a class of blockheads. Really, truly, and absolutely. Lacey and Paige are not, certainly, but they are the exceptions. Or maybe probably they are only semi-blockheaded-ish. Say 35% blockhead and 65% not. I can't believe we haven't had a teacher since yesterday and have agreed to keep this inconceivable secret for maybe the entire year. Inconceivable! That means unbelievable, extraordinary, and totally preposterous. The kids in class have lost their collective minds, if they even had minds. I'm guessing they didn't. All the kids in my class combined equal maybe one mind. Or maybe their minds are just made out of blocks, ergo blockheads. But I promised to keep quiet too, and all because I was afraid of a smelly sock. I'm as big of a blockhead as everyone else. It's taken all my willpower to keep from marching down to Principal Klein's office and demanding a new teacher now. But a vow is a vow is a vow, which is the same as a promise, an agreement, an oath, a binding oral contract between the blockheads and me. And a smelly sock is a smelly sock is a smelly sock. I don't smell like a sock, even if the whole idea is ludicrous and makes no sense. Are we supposed to like socks, hate socks, or what? Besides, everyone already thinks I'm the teacher's pet, so I just had to go with the majority. I didn't have a choice. I started to object. I really did. But then Trevor whispered to Gavin, and not very softly, that of course little Miss Bossy had a problem. And then he called me the same thing out loud to everyone. So I couldn't say anything. Still, this changes everything, and I mean everything. No teacher means no more teaching. No more teaching means no more learning, and no more learning means falling behind in school and having a life of miserable mediocrity. I, Maggie Cranberry, refuse to lead a life of mediocrity. Thank you very much. I have my life planned out perfectly, planned out on a spreadsheet on my computer. After excelling throughout my secondary schooling, I will graduate number 1 in our high school class, top of the ladder, chief genius, and VIP of scholarly smartness. Then I move right on to Harvard, a full scholarship, naturally. Mom and Dad went to Harvard, and so did my aunts and uncles. They expect me to go too. I won't let them down. I won't be the first Cranberry to fail. My great-great-great uncle was only the 4th African American to graduate from Harvard too. Or maybe he was the 7th one to graduate. Top 10 for sure. Paige tells me I worry about college too much since we're only in 5th grade. With that attitude, you can be sure she's not getting into Harvard. Paige also tells me that I need to relax. I tell her that I can relax when I'm old, like when I'm 25. But all of my plans are now in jeopardy. How am I supposed to learn without a teacher? Teaching kids has to be one of the easiest jobs in the world, too. To teach 1st grade, you just need to reach 2nd grade. And anyone who has reached 3rd grade can easily teach 2nd grade, and so on and so on. As a 5th grader, I'm practically overqualified to be a teacher. And this is a humongous. And when you're a teacher, kids do all the work while teachers just grade and judge it. How easy is that? I brought a math textbook to school today. I'm going to learn even if no one else will. Let the other kids waste their time and their brain cells. My teachers say I'm a go-getter, so I'll just go get myself an education. Lacey and Paige chat. They brought their textbooks like I told them to do. They were planning on bringing games to class, and I reminded them we needed to set an example. But Lacey and Paige are helpless. Are they studying? No! They're talking about boys and television and other monumental wastes of time. Although a couple of the boys in class are cute. Sort of. Paige asks me, on TV last night, did you watch? My eyes narrow into slits. No, I did not watch TV last night. I read. The rest of the class ignores their minds as completely and ridiculously as Lacey and Paige disregard theirs. Cooper brought a pile of comic books, which he shares with Gavin and Trevor. Oh, waste. In the corner, Samantha braids Giovanna's hair. More waste. In back of me, kids talk, laugh, joke, play, and doodle. Jasmine and Danny, the twins, make paper fortune tellers. Waste, 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 and waste. But worst of everyone in class, Kyle hurls erasers and wrestles with his equally irritating friends. I can't think of a bigger waste than Kyle and his friends, even if I like the way Kyle's bright red hair stands up on top of his head. Kyle's sort of cute in a red-headed Neanderthal sort of way. Neanderthal means oafish, ape-like, and very, very annoying. The room is a din of noise and commotion. Why can't kids goof off quietly? It's hard to study with all these distractions. I want to scream to them to, be quiet, you blockheads! But then the class phone rings. It's loud, abrasive, surprising, and sudden. A piercing wake-up call through the lazy glaze of goofing. Everyone quiets and stares at the phone, as if it will answer itself. Of course, my desk is closer to the teacher's desk and phone. That's where I always sit, so teachers notice me raising my hand to answer their questions. The phone rings again. I suppose someone has to answer the phone, or it'll ring forever, and I'll never get any work done if the phone rings forever. So I stand up, stride to the desk, and pick up the handset. I clear my throat. Yes? Miss Bryce, how are you? It's Principal Klein. I recognize his deep, booming voice. I'm terribly sorry, but I'm not. I'll get right to the point, Miss Bryce, he says, interrupting me. We did not get your attendance sheet this morning. I'm not, I repeat, but then I stop. Everyone stares at me, wondering what I'll say next. You're not what? Asked Principal Klein. A vow is a vow is a vow. A smelly sock is a smelly sock is a smelly sock. I clear my throat. I screech so my voice sounds more like Miss Bryce's. I'm not sure why I didn't turn in the sheet. Everyone's here. And lunch, he asks. Right, lunch. We forgot about lunch. Every day, Miss Bryce writes down on the attendance sheet who will buy lunch. It's simply routine. Yet we completely neglected to do it. It's probably obvious this class secret isn't going to last for long because everyone is a blockhead, including me. But I won't be the one to blab. I gave a vow, even if the vow was moronic, inane, and completely without basic common sense. No one is buying lunch today, I say, my voice clipped. Very well, says Principal Klein, but don't forget to turn in those sheets tomorrow. Of course not. Who do you think I am? And he hangs up. I stand there holding the phone. Part of me feels simply terrible for lying to the principal. I feel guilty, awful, and lower than a parasitic earthworm. My knees shake. The principal? You don't lie to him. But part of me also feels giddy, joyous, and elated, as if I've just found a new dictionary under the Christmas tree. Principal Klein thought I was Miss Bryce. He didn't suspect the truth. He assumed I was in charge. And why not? Someone has to be in charge. Why not me? Maybe, just maybe, I can turn this entire ridiculous adventure to my advantage. My camp counselor last summer told my parents I was a natural-born leader. Ivy League colleagues love leaders. Colleges love leaders. If I take charge of this class, then that will look impressive on my Harvard application. I'll make Mom and Dad proud. Just you wait and see. The other kids might say I'm too serious, but we're all going to start seriously learning in class again, whether anyone else wants to learn or not. Chapter 8, Eric. I sit at my desk with my pencil, notebook, and a copy of Hamlet, the book I brought to class. A few other kids brought books, but no one reads one. I open my book. Hamlet isn't a book, really. It's a play by Shakespeare, who most people say was the greatest playwright ever. Shakespeare lived a long time ago, and it's hard to read his plays because he uses a whole bunch of words I've never heard of before. I can't read more than a few lines at a time without my mind swimming in confusion. Like this line. I am but mad northwest. When the wind is southerly, I know a hawk from a handsaw. Huh? But Shakespeare is supposed to be brilliant, and if I want to be a brilliant writer, I need to read brilliant things, even if they are impossible to understand. Meanwhile, around the room, everyone seems bored. A group of girls sit in a circle, and Madeline tells a story about her cat. I think it's the fourth time she's told the same story. Pieces of familiar conversation float across the room to me. Eli made a giant paperclip chain, but has run out of paper clips, so he walks around trying to borrow some from everyone. I don't have any paper clips, I say. Are you sure? He asks. It's important. Yeah, sorry. Right in front of me, Adam and Lizzie sit on the floor, doodling on the backs of their chairs. Their desks are completely doodled over, so I suppose they ran out of room on them. Adam brushes his arm against Lizzie's and then pretends it's an accident, but I don't think it's an accident. You can get to know people pretty well just from watching them. Danny, who sits to my left, rests his head on his desk, yawning widely. Next to him, Jasmine rests her head too and snores lightly. Behind them, Kyle takes a break from throwing erasers to feed our room hamster, Soda. I'm glad someone remembered to feed him. He closes the container of hamster food and then hurls an eraser at Jasmine's head. She lurches up from her nap, annoyed. The eraser sticks in her thick dreadlocks. She doesn't even bother to remove it, and she instead goes back to sleep. That's the thing about school. We may have hated Miss Bryce, but at least we had things to do. If you ever yawned or closed your eyes, she'd yell at you. But we're stuck here, and we can't leave, or someone might see us and wonder why we're not in class. Then our secret would leak for sure. A couple of kids brought phones, but since they aren't allowed in school, most kids didn't want to risk being caught by their parents sneaking them to class. I think Maggie is up to something, though. She sits in front of the teacher's desk, rifling through Miss Bryce's files and old homework papers. Every few seconds, she looks up, smiles, and continues browsing. Yesterday, I thought Maggie was disappointed about us keeping our incredible secret. Apparently, she's changed her mind. If Maggie is okay with our teacherless class, then I am too. Maggie's the most serious girl in school. She wears a sweatshirt that says Harvard on the front. She always tells everyone that's where she's going to college someday. That's a long time from now, though. To keep busy, I write. I write a story about a man who has nothing to do, so he sits on a chair all day long, day after day. Cobwebs form between his fingers. His beard grows so long it hits the floor. But still, he doesn't move. He has nothing better to do. Eventually, demolition crews come to tear down the building where the man lives. The crews don't know the bored man lurks inside because no one has seen him in years. As the man hears the wrecking ball smash against the concrete walls and debris crumbles down around him, he stands. He wobbles, since he hasn't stood in a long time and his muscles have grown saggy. But he staggers across the room and opens the front door. The light of day blinds him. He has forgotten how bright sunlight can be. The crowd surrounding the building gasps. The man is as pale as a ghost and bone thin. At first, everyone thinks he's a zombie, but then they realize he's alive and human. What have you been doing? A woman in the crowd asks. Nothing much, says the man. But it's too late to stop the demolition. The wrecking ball swings again and the walls collapse on top of the man. When the crowd finds him buried in rubble, he's smiling. Why are you so happy? A man asks him. As the last flicker of life leaves his body, he replies, because for the first time in years, I'm not bored. Isn't it lunchtime? Asks Eli. He points to the classroom clock. I look up from my paper. Lunch? Already? I rest my pencil on my desk and rise from my seat. But who will lead us to lunch? Asked Madeline, light reflecting from her braces. We all exchange confused gazes. No one knows. We always filed behind Miss Bryce, but there's no Miss Bryce here to file behind. I didn't bring a lunch, complains Cooper. Maggie told Principal Klein that no one in our class is buying lunch today. So what am I supposed to eat? Cooper looks like he's going to cry. No one has an answer for him. And then I remember. I didn't bring my lunch either. My stomach growls. Calm down, says Kyle. He frowns and grunts. If we keep our mouths shut, everything will be fine. But I'm hungry, whines Cooper. How about eating a smelly sock? Says Brian with a menacing hiss and a crackle of his knuckles. Cooper sniffles and chokes back one final sob. There's a sliver of glass between the door and the wall, so I can see the hallway outside. Classes are streaming from their rooms to gather for their lunchroom walks. We need to join them in the hall. Teachers will notice if we're not in line and ready to go. I expect Maggie to stand up and solve our problem, or even Kyle, but they look as lost as the rest of the class, as if they are in a blank tunnel and can't see the way out. No one takes charge. So I clear my throat. Hey, I say. A couple of kids glance over, but most ignore me. When you're usually invisible, it's hard to become visible again. I clear my throat again, and this time, everyone? My voice cracks. It's unaccustomed to being loud. It sounds weird to me. My classmates notice me now. I hate the stares. I want to hide, but I can't hide after I've called everyone's attention to me. I think we should assign a line leader to take us to lunch, and, so... I can feel my face blushing, but I keep going. And, if you brought a lunch, how about sharing it with someone who didn't? Then, we can all eat something, you know? My face burns from the attention. It's probably bright red, but then a strange thing happened. No one yells at me to be quiet. No one shoves me or calls me nasty names for sharing lousy ideas. Instead, my classmates nod their heads. They smile. They agree. Good idea, says Kyle. Me, Eric Hill. I spoke up, and it was okay. Those who brought lunches volunteer to share with kids who didn't. Emmy brought peanut butter and jelly and offers to split it with me. I don't like jelly, especially not raspberry jelly, which is the flavor Emmy likes, but I don't say anything other than, sure, thanks. Who wants to split my lunch? Asks Lizzie. I brought ground lamb avocado balls. I made them myself. No one says a word. I can't imagine anyone who would want to eat lamb avocado balls. I could write a horror story about lamb avocado balls. I will, says Adam. Lizzie smiles broadly. The freckles on her cheeks stretch in size. Adam smiles back, but his face looks slightly greenish. Adam's holding a sack lunch, but he drops it on the floor so Lizzie can't see that he brought his lunch today. I think of grabbing it so I don't have to share Emmy's sandwich, but Adam kicks it away and I'm guessing it's sort of ruined. Let's go, announces Kyle. No one moves. Everyone looks at me. Aren't you our line leader, Eric? Jade asks, twirling her silky brown hair around her finger. She stares at me waiting, her pale green eyes popping against her deep brown skin. I hesitate. Me? I've never been line leader before. I've never wanted to be, but someone has to, and how hard can it be? Uh, sure! Adam and Lizzie get behind me, followed by Maggie and the brains. We walk out to the hall, and I lead. The others follow, single file. Feels strange to be followed. In the hallway, I stand next to the lockers, checking that everyone is lined up behind me. We look like we always do, except that we don't have a teacher in front. In line, about 15 kids back, Brian pushes Kyle. Kyle shoves Seth. Seth bangs into Madeline. She gives a short yelp and backs into Gavin, stepping on one of his high-top sneakers. Gavin, who's tall, toddles back and into Trevor, and Trevor is short, so Gavin's elbow bumps into Trevor's chin. Watch it, snaps Trevor, who pushes Gavin forward and into Madeline, who then knocks into Seth. Seth shoves her back into Gavin. It's like a nasty game of pinball. Closer to me, Danny pushes Paige and giggles. Paige was holding a notebook and it falls to the ground. She stumbles out of our line and into the hallway. Stop it, she hisses to Danny, who's now pushing Jasmine. Leave me alone, complains Jasmine. Danny snickers. What's going on here? The booming voice of Principal Klein immediately halts the pushing and talking and snickering. Pushing and talking and snickering are against 100 lunch line rules. When we had rules. Everyone stands straight at attention. We're suddenly a well-trained army unit without an arm or a leg out of line. We all stare ahead at Miss Bryce, if she were standing here. Where's your teacher? Asks Principal Klein. Sounds like more like a demand than a question. Our principal's a large man, and even though he wears orange cardigan sweaters, he's a little scary. Maybe it's the size of his hands. They're huge. When he talks, I always stare at his hands. I want to hide, but there's nowhere to run, and back of me a few kids cough. None of us moves a muscle or says a word. I ask, where's Miss Bryce? Our principal demands. His hands clench. Again, no one says anything. I answer softly, she's in the bathroom. I expect Principal Klein to accuse me of lying, jabbing a giant finger into my chest, twisting my ear, and marching me off to his office. Everyone will laugh at me. Instead, Principal Klein says, all right, but stop goofing off in the halls. You know better. I can't believe we weren't busted. My heart is pounding as Mr. Klein heads back toward the front office. Once he's around the corner, I stumble forward and we're on our way down the hall. Still, I'm so nervous. I can't breathe. I exhale only when I'm halfway down the hall. When we get to the cafeteria, we all sit at our regular lunchroom table. Emmy gives me half of her peanut butter and raspberry jelly sandwich. I hoped there would be just a small dab of jelly over a thick spread of peanut butter. Instead, the sandwich is caked with gobs of jelly and just a small peanut butter layer. Emmy also brought 4 cookies and gives me 2 of them. I think they're chocolate chip cookies, but I'm extremely disappointed to discover they're oatmeal raisin. I don't like raisins much, but I keep silent. Around me, kids share their lunches without arguing. We can't misbehave or we'll be caught. So no one pushes anyone or starts a food fight, although there's some commotion at the other end near the big goofs. Still, we've lasted more than 20 minutes without the rest of 5th grade, and no one has discovered our incredible secret. But I just know this can't last for long. Join us tomorrow for another couple of chapters. I hope you're having fun as I am, guys. This is a great book. Take care of yourselves. Have a good night.